consequences. One word, scale, scale. There are massive mountains, 11,000 Manhattans. That's the search problem we have, the scale problem.
What's made you so anti-Semitic?
What do you want then? What is your end goal with this?
I want you to admit you're just a brazen anti-Semite. You don't like Jewish people. You don't want to associate with Jewish people. Just admit it. The chaos of
I ain't gonna lie, they ruined that kid's life for him pretty much saying that he rejected a job offer because he said, I don't want to work with a Jew. It's like, I'm okay. I don't want to work for Jews. I was like, well, god damn. It's like, man. But because he had that stance, they pretty much ruined his entire life. Can't really get a job anywhere. So he kind of cooked himself with that. And I'm just like, that might have happened if you said that to any race. If you sit there and says, oh yeah, I don't want to work for actually, if he says I don't want to work for white people, he'd have got away with that. If he says I don't want to work for black people, he'd have been called racist, but I'm gonna be real with you, people would still be trying to hire him. But him saying that I don't want to work for Jews ended his entire career. Well, really ended his future.
Intended consequences is one of the biggest strategic problems with waging war. For all of the so-called war games and disaster planning, nobody can predict the future. Iran's proxy militia in Yemen is attacking Saudi Arabia's coastal oil facilities. It jeopardizes yet another alternative to the Hormuz Strait, and it drags in another country who didn't want war in the first place. This weekend, Ukraine launched a deadly attack on an Iranian vessel it says was trading weapons with Russia. Now experts fear that Ukraine's European allies might be dragged in too. They may want nothing to do with Trump's Iran war, but they're lockstep behind Ukraine in the war against Russia. You don't need to be a doomsayer to understand how this could spiral out of control. Dangerous unintended consequences are one of the reasons why so many expert guests on this show have repeatedly called on Trump to declare victory and get the hell out of this. For a while, that is what he was doing. But all of a sudden, the debate has pivoted. It's all about...
No, literally, though. I kept saying that, look, I don't care how Trump sells it. Trump can sell a win, and I'll sit here and I'll be like, look, dog, I may not agree with you spreading the propaganda about a dub that we did not take, but whatever, bro. Whatever to get us out this war, dude. Say what you got to say. Sell it how you got to sell it. I don't care. Just stop this damn war, okay? I don't care how you got to sell it.
How and when the U.S. should escalate, and not if. The war's public cheerleaders are making the case that U.S. deaths may be worthwhile if the U.S. escalates into operations like seizing Carg Island.
No one in America wants American casualties. It's a tragedy and a horror. We do understand.
I've seen this clip so many times because it went viral, but Ben Shapiro is pretty much going to hit us with the, oh, well, this is war, so you should expect casualties. And it's like, it completely went outside of his mind. He just can't comprehend the fact that most Americans did not agree to this war. They did not even give us a good propaganda campaign for this war, and we disagree with the continuing of this war. So can you imagine trying to sell to us that, oh yeah, you should be okay with the deaths of this war, a war that, never supported, didn't want to get into, but you should just support the deaths of it? It's like, are you serious? It's the whole reason why we didn't want it. We do understand that people die in war. That's why we didn't want to engage in war. Like, do you understand it now? Especially against Iran, since we didn't complete no military objectives, honestly, and we got 18 service members dead. So honestly, you're just going into our point of why war is just not the answer, but it is what it is.
And that war does come along with casualties, and we are willing to undergo those casualties in pursuit of an end and a victory for America. But as far as the idea that, for example, America, we can't hit Carg Island because the Iranian people would then be deprived of oil resources. The American people are, I should say, not particularly concerned about that. We are far more concerned with why we're there not winning.
Well, the American people are concerned about why the U.S. is not winning, as well as the war's cost in lives and dollars. The question is whether any of the dramatic operations now being retailed.
I mean, we're mad we're in the war. We're mad we're not winning the war. And we're also mad that our government is asking more money, asking our Congress for more money to continue a war that they have not shown any results in whatsoever. I mean, can you imagine that? Bro, it's like you're a business. It's like you got a business. You go to your investors. They give you some money. You fuck the bag up. You don't get no investments back, but you go back to them pretty much saying, look, give me more money for the same task that I just lost y'all money on. Yes, for the same endeavor I just lost your money on, give me more money for it. It's like, bro, are y'all? Like, y'all. All right, you got it.
Or get them any closer to anything which could plausibly be called a victory. Why Trump has given up on giving up is unclear. The late Lindsey Graham had one prescient explanation in newly released documentary footage about his pro-war crusade.
How long have we been pushing this?
Oh, you've been pushing this for years, right?
Right, it's here. I talked to Trump this morning.
I'm weak. I definitely showed you guys this at the beginning of the stream. And also, guys, like I said, make sure if you have any question, comments, jokes, disagreements, make sure to super chat it in, guys. And also double tap that screen, like the video. I do like how we're over 100 likes. So shout out to you guys for that one. Yeah, so appreciate those of you who like the video, guys, and make sure you subscribe to the channel as well, guys. And then, guys, if you want to catch the full live, because I do be on listening the full live on YouTube, make sure to follow me on Rumble and Kick as well, and also Twitch. You can also see me streaming on Twitch, Kick, and Facebook. All right, that's all. Let's get back to it.
It's literally.
Oh, he's Jack.
Yeah.
It's the best thing I've.
Crusade.
How long have we been pushing this?
Oh, you've been pushing this for years, right?
Right, it's here. I talked to Trump this morning.
It's literally.
Oh, he's Jack.
Yeah.
It's the best thing I've ever done. He loves blowing stuff up.
Well, whether or not Trump loves blowing stuff up, it seems inevitable that he's about to start doing it again. And the whole world is again braced for the unintended consequences. In a moment, we'll have an all-star expert panel to make sense of what happens next. But joining me first with his assessment on Iran, Ukraine, and the Saudi nuclear deal is political scientist Professor John Mearsheimer. Professor Mearsheimer, welcome back to Uncensored.
Glad to be here, Piers.
Where the hell are we? I can't think of many people better qualified to at least try and explain where we've got to with this Iran war.
We've suffered a devastating defeat. You want to remember we went into the war with 4 goals. 1 was regime change. 2 was to eliminate Iran's ability.
And I'm gonna be real with you. Those of you who want to say, oh, it wasn't about regime change. I'm like, look, guys, the man literally took out their supreme leader. First day of the war, take out the supreme leader, then call for the Iranian people to rise up and take back their, their facilities, or my bad, their institutions. So, yeah, what the fuck was that then? Like, no, literally, it's like you can't sit there and say, oh, it wasn't about regime change. The man killed the supreme leader and told the Iranian people to take back their institutions. That sounds like regime change to me. I mean, that sounds like an attempt at regime change to me.
Ability to enrich uranium. Number 3 was to end support for the Houthis, Hezbollah, and Hamas. And number 4 was to put an end to the long-range missile program. We failed on all 4 counts. Furthermore, on February 27th, the Iranians did not control the Strait of Hormuz. They now control the Strait of Hormuz. Furthermore, our basing structure in the region has been destroyed. Our alliance structure in the region is in tatters, and the international economy may go off a cliff at some point in the not too distant future. This is a catastrophic defeat. There's no other way to cover it up. Now, people might say there is a military solution for fixing this problem. There is no military solution. We've tried every strategy.
No, literally. And I love how he's saying it's like there's no military solution without destroying our economy. That's just the reality there. There really is no military solution without destroying our economy and having hundreds of thousands of service members lose their life. Like, while the result still being the complete throwaway of our economy. Like, are you serious? There is no winning strategy but just leaving. And even that looks terrible on Trump.
In the book, a major air campaign, a blockade, and now this tit for tat strategy. All of them have failed, and nobody has an alternative strategy that will pull our chestnuts out of the fire.
I mean, that is my reading. What should President Trump do then?
Well, I think what President Trump should do is try to get an agreement, a new memorandum of understanding as soon as possible. But the problem is it's not in the Iranians' interest to agree to a new memorandum of understanding anytime soon. They should drag this crisis out for a good month or so more, because the more time goes on, the more coercive leverage they have. So I think Trump is going to have a devil of a time getting the Iranians to agree to a deal that's as good as the memorandum of understanding of June 17th. So I think that he's in real trouble.
And you've got, of course, the Israeli position, which a bit like which.
Well, I mean, that's what I'm saying, dog. If the first memorandum of understanding made you sick to your stomach, then, bro, if we don't finish the job on this and Iran still controls the strait, oh man, look, the second memorandum of understanding is really going to piss you off. Like, you're probably going to throw up in your mouth a little bit. So let's hope that's not the result here. But it's looking like it.
Trump's midterm elections coming in the fall. You've got the same in Israel. Netanyahu will know that if it looks like he's failed with this war, that will probably lead to him being booted out of office. So he has his own political imperative, perhaps, you could argue, to keep this thing going. Conversely, Trump, would probably face the opposite issue, where if it's still raging, this war in September, October, and gas prices are still going through the roof and more American servicemen and women are being killed, that this could be politically very toxic for him and end up costing him the whole of Congress.
Yeah, I think there's no question, Piers, as you say, that Trump wants to put an end to this. He understands he doesn't have a winning strategy. And as you point out, from an Israeli point of view, it makes sense to try to keep the war going. This is the war against Iran. You also want to understand they're heading in different directions with regard to Lebanon, southern.
Real with you, war they've been trying to drag us into for a while now with Iran. They've been trying to destabilize Iran for a minute, and they know they can't do it without us.
Lebanon, Syria, and Gaza. There have been reports on Channel 13 in Israel that the Trump administration has asked the Israelis to leave Gaza, leave southern Lebanon, and leave southern Syria. And of course, this idea is anathema to Netanyahu and to most Israelis. So it appears to me that what you'll see is that the two sides are at loggerheads on two different sets of issues.
It is a mess. And we've also got this added complexity of Ukraine launching a deadly attack on an Iranian vessel it says was trading weapons with Russia. This could potentially drag in Ukraine's European allies into a war they've so far resisted getting involved with in any offensive capability. What do you think is going to happen here?
I think it's possible that the Iranians may strike at some target in Ukraine, but I think the Iranians do not have any interest in getting involved in a war against Ukraine, and I don't think Ukraine has an interest in getting involved in a war with Iran. Ukraine is up to its eyeballs in alligators fighting against the Russians. The last thing they need is a new front. So I think there may be some minor tit for tat, but I don't think this is going to escalate in any meaningful way. I think the escalation that's really scary is what's happening with regard to the Yemenis or the Houthis and the Saudis. And now it looks like Saudi oil is no longer going to come out of the Red Sea. And furthermore, that the Houthis are actually destroying oil refineries.
Well, I mean, it's coming out of the Red Sea. The problem is they got to take the Suez Canal, and that's just adding more to the travel time, thus making the trip more expensive. I mean, that's the problem with them pretty much doing a blockade on the Bab el-Mandeb Strait. There's two ways out of the Red Sea: the Suez Canal up there in Egypt, and of course, down there by Yemen, between Yemen and Djibouti, the Bab el-Mandeb Strait.
Inside of Saudi Arabia. This is really potentially bad news.
I mean, it could be absolutely catastrophic, couldn't it? I mean, and we haven't even got around to the potential apocalyptic element of this, which is if they start trading attacks on desalination plants, for example, the consequences for the people in these countries could be absolutely horrendous.
There's no question about that. You want to remember, though, that
I mean, I remember I brought up the point already. Like, Iran, they don't rely too much on water desalination for their water supply, but the Gulf countries do. Like, up to 40 to 99% of their water comes from their water desalination. AKA, if you destroy that and their energy, these countries become unlivable. especially Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, all of them just become unlivable. We're talking about like places that stay like 120 degrees on the daily. Ain't no winter out there. That's why it's a desert.
Iran hardly relies on desalination plants at all. They rely on desalination plants for somewhere between 2 to 3% of their drinking water. It's the Gulf states that are heavily dependent on desalination. This is one of the reasons that President Trump has not gone after infrastructure, civilian infrastructure, in Iran. His great fear is that if he starts going after power plants, he goes after bridges, oil facilities, or desalination plants in Iran, that the Iranians will retaliate in kind. And this will basically, and I'm not overstating the case here, it will destroy these countries in the Gulf because they can't survive without desalination plants. And this greatly limits our ability to escalate.
I think there are also economic pressures on these Gulf states, which are beginning to really bite, particularly some of the smaller ones. I mean, I've been hearing about Kuwait and Bahrain and these kind of states who don't have the kind of Middle East superpower economies of, say, Saudi Arabia, who might be in real trouble the longer this goes on.
Well, the thing is, if you look at the geography,
And they rely a lot on water salination, and their water salination center has been struck. Power plants have been struck, and they're starting to ration out energy in Kuwait. And it's tough out there, so keep them in your prayers.
Piers, Bahrain and Kuwait can only get their oil out through the Gulf and through the Strait of Hormuz. And given that the Strait of Hormuz is closed to them, they're not getting any oil or gas out. Both the Saudis and the United Arab Emirates, the UAE, they're getting their oil out. The Emirates have a base, it's called Fujari, that's on the Sea of Oman, and they're able to get quite a bit of oil. I'd estimate somewhere on the order of 2 million barrels a day out of Fujari. And of course, the Saudis, up until very recently, have been getting oil out through the Red Sea. So I would estimate that in total, about 7 million barrels of UAE and Saudi oil have been getting.
And just to give you a visual representation here, let's go ahead and go over to the maritime traffic map here. All right, guys. So main screen it for those who are watching horizontal. But yeah, so this is Saudi Arabia right here. And like I said, down here, south of Saudi Arabia is Yemen. Now, what Saudi Arabia is having to do is take the Suez Canal over here by Egypt instead of just taking the easier and cheaper route of the Bab el-Mandeb Strait over there by Yemen. Sorry, bro. Sorry. Map is a little bit difficult to deal with, but right here, the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, which other ships are going through, but if you're a Saudi ship, they're striking you. That's the problem right now. And Saudi, they deliver 6% of the world's oil through this strait. Well, they was doing that, but not anymore. But all right, though, back to it.
Heading out onto world oil markets, but hardly any Kuwaiti or Bahraini oil has been getting out because it's all bottled up inside the Persian Gulf.
Summaries here, and for once, even we Brits have had nothing.
Oh my God, all right, guys, make sure to double tap that screen and like the video, guys. Any question, comment, jokes, or disagreements, please go ahead and super chat that in. I'd be happy to engage with it. And also make sure to subscribe to the channel if you've been watching longer than 10 minutes, or this is probably your like 5th, 6th time watching. You might as well subscribe already. All right, guys, let's go ahead and get right back to it.
Donald Trump announced he was signing a deal with Saudi Arabia, which would potentially allow the kingdom to enrich uranium in future and to avoid the fullest inspection rights of the international watchdog. Now, you have argued before that it's rational that Iran should acquire nuclear weapons for deterrent purposes. Would you use the same argument with Saudi Arabia, given what's been happening?
Absolutely. From Saudi Arabia's point of view, it makes eminently good sense to have nuclear weapons. I think I've told you before that Ehud Barak, the former Israeli prime minister, said that the reason he believes that Iran is pursuing nuclear weapons is because it makes so much sense. But the key, Piers, you always want to remember this, is that what's good for Iran or Saudi Arabia is not necessarily good for the United States. And in this case, it is absolutely not in our interest, not in America's interest or Europe's interest for that matter, to see either Saudi Arabia or Iran have nuclear weapons. So the fact that President Trump has allowed Saudi Arabia to have this significant nuclear enrichment capability is not good for the United States. But I think in this case, Trump felt that he had no alternative, that if he didn't provide the Saudis with some enrichment capability, they'd go on the nuclear market and they'd get that capability from another country, maybe China, maybe Russia, maybe Japan, or maybe Pakistan, who knows? But Trump, I think, concluded that they were going to get a nuclear enrichment capability, and it would be better from our point of view, both economically and strategically, for us to be in control, and that we would be able to prevent any move by the Saudis to use that nuclear enrichment capability to get a bomb.
I mean, President Trump's made it clear the deal is contingent on the.
And that's so funny though, because it's like, yeah, that's the problem with allowing Saudi Arabia to enrich uranium for civilian purposes. Like, how much times have we heard that? And it turned out to, oh no, look, they're actually enriching towards a nuke. And we can't really stop them without starting a regional conflict. Oh, great. Now they got a nuke and here we are. It's like, bro, it's going to be the same thing with North Korea. It's going to be the same thing with Pakistan and the rest of them if we allow them to start enriching. I mean, actually, it's going to be the same thing with Iran, too. I mean, anybody remember Atoms for Peace, where we gave Iran a nuclear reactor for, peaceful nuclear purposes, or to have a peaceful nuclear program? And how'd that work out for us? So here we are trying the same thing with Saudi Arabia. It's like insane. Like, come on now. It didn't work out for us all those other times. Why is it going to work out with Saudi Arabia? And they have all the intention in the world to.
Saudis recognizing Israel and joining effectively the Abraham Accords. Can Saudi Arabia do that politically for its own reasons, given what is going on in the Middle East right now?
No, and that's why the agreement that was signed last Wednesday made no mention of that. And it wasn't part of the negotiating process because the Saudis would have never agreed to that. The Saudis have made it unequivocally clear that they will only agree to an Abraham Accord with Israel if Israel gives the Palestinians a state of their own or makes significant movement in that direction.
And that is the only way that Saudi Arabia is going to join the Abraham Accords. If there's a two-state solution, so the Palestinians pretty much get their own state, and of course Israel gets their own state, and everybody just be happy. The problem is that there's a lot of Israelis that don't want that to go down, and they'd rather just take all of Palestine. I mean, look what they're doing in Gaza, and look what they're doing in the West Bank.
If anything, the Israelis are going in the opposite direction. As you and I have discussed on this show before, Israeli behavior in Gaza is, in my opinion, a genocide. And what they're interested in doing is cleansing Gaza. So the idea that they're going to give the Palestinians a state of their own in Gaza, or even in the West Bank, if you look at the pogroms that the Israelis are conducting in the West Bank, that's even more evidence that the Palestinians are not going to get a state. And the Saudis say that as long as that is the case, there'll be no Abraham Accord. So I think that President Trump is whistling in the wind when he thinks that he's going to get the Saudis to agree now, after signing the agreement last Wednesday, to all of a sudden agree to an Abraham Accord.
How does this all end? I mean, take me forward to the end of the year. Where do you think we'll be?
If I had to guess, I think we're going to get another memorandum of understanding. A lot of people talk about a forever war. There are really sort of two big options besides a peace agreement or a memorandum.
I mean, here's the thing, though. Like, a lot of people do talk about a forever war, but I mean, I don't think that we can carry out a forever war. We can't carry out this war into perpetuity. Like, we can't carry it out all the way into the next year and the year after that, all the way out to Trump's end of his term. Why? Because we don't have the munitions to do so. We don't have the patience of the people either. Yeah. And of course, once again, our soldiers are getting tired. Like, there's no real result. So how long can we keep this up? Because we don't have all the money in the world. Like, Pete Hegseth is kind of getting a whole lot of pushback from Congress about getting it refunded. Like, you really got to think about all this stuff. Like, I know a lot of people want to sit there like, oh, set us forever war, but I mean, can we really do a forever war? I mean, our munitions is low. We don't really got enough money to keep it going. Like, how can we do a forever war? Like, tell me, what constitutes a forever war? What, the first year? Because I don't think we're going to make it that far, especially with our strategic oil reserves at where they're at.
Of understanding. One is escalation, and the other is a forever war. We just go on with these tit for tat attacks against each other. I don't think that you can have a forever war because I think the economic consequences rule that out. I think the longer this war goes on, the closer we get to going off the cliff and ending up with a worldwide economic depression. So this war has to be shut down. And one of the incentives to escalate is because people recognize you can't have a forever war and that this has to be shut down. So they say, let's escalate. But as you and I both know well, Piers, there is no escalation option here. If there was an escalation option, we would do it, right? And in fact, if you look at the most significant
like, guys, if there was a way to win this Iran war, get the Iranians to surrender, get regime change, take care of their missiles and proxies, we'd have done it by now. We'd have done all that. If there was a way to get Iran to release control of the Strait, we'd have done it by now. Like, why the hell would we dilly-dally about that?
Military campaign that we've waged in this war, it was the 40-day strategic bombing campaign between February 28th and April 8th. And we ended it, and we never started it up again because it was not a campaign, an air campaign that could produce victory. It was just not in the cards. So we have no escalation option here. Some people talk about putting ground forces in. We don't have enough ground troops to invade an island, much less invade the country of Iran. And furthermore, if we invaded Iran, the Iranians would win that conflict. And furthermore,
yeah, because how much soldiers? I believe we got like maybe, I know we got 50,000 soldiers in the region alone in just stationed there in the Middle East. Maybe we got like 150,000 guys. It's going to take way more than 150,000 to beat the million-man army in Iran. Like, let's just keep it real. It's going to take way more than that. Even if we do outclass them.
The American people have no interest in a ground war in Iran. So we have no military option here. And what's going to happen, I believe, I'm not 100% certain, but I believe that President Trump will sign another memorandum of understanding. And the terms from our point of view will be worse than the terms of the 17 June memorandum of understanding. But I think this war will come to an end by the end of the year.
Just finally, Professor Mearsheimer, let's talk about Ukraine briefly. We had an extraordinary spectacle at the weekend where Laura Loomer,
No, because I do hear his point. He's like, how are we going to do a forever war on low munitions? We're barely able to get funding for it. We've achieved no results on low munitions as well that we can't replace it for what? Into like what, 5-6 years, guys? Yeah, that's not a good position to be in. And if you don't understand it, hopefully this video helps you understand it.
America has the strongest military in the world, but this war just exposed its biggest weakness. And it's not what you think. It's not the soldiers, it's not the technology, it's math. On the very first day of this war, America killed Iran's supreme leader. That was supposed to be checkmate. The regime was supposed to crack, but it didn't. Iran closed the Strait of Hormuz, the narrow strip of water that carries 1/5 of the world's oil, and suddenly the strongest military on earth had a problem it couldn't bomb its way out of. Then Iran went on the attack. American bases hit in Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, the UAE, Iraq and Jordan were hit. Even British bases in Cyprus and also in the Indian Ocean. Iran's cheap drones flew so low they slipped right past billion-dollar defense systems. America's own defense secretary and top general privately admitted to Congress that these drones were a problem they couldn't fully stop. In just the first 4 days of this war, American Patriot batteries fired 943 interceptor missiles. Sounds fine, right? Because America has plenty. Except that the factories that build these missiles produce about 620 per year. So in 4 days, America used up 18 months of production. 4 days. 18 months. And it didn't stop there. Halfway through this war, America had burned through roughly half of its Patriot missiles. Half of its THAAD interceptors too. The most advanced defense system it has. Each THAAD missile costs almost $13 million. The factory makes about 100 a year. Experts say refilling that stockpile could take up to 8 years. 8 years to recover from a few months of fighting a country with an economy smaller than the state of Florida. Now stop and think about what that really means. For years, America has talked about being ready to take on Russia, ready to defend Taiwan against China. 2 wars at once if needed, that was the claim. But Iran isn't Russia. Iran isn't China. Iran is a country crushed by sanctions, with an air force from the 1970s. And this fight still drained half of America's best missiles. Now China builds weapons faster than any country on Earth. Its factories outproduce American factories many times over. Russia has been in full war mode for years. So here is the question nobody in Washington wants to answer out loud. If a few months against Iran emptied the shelves this badly, what happens when America is up against a real superpower? America even paused weapons deliveries to Taiwan during this war because there simply wasn't enough to go around. And the Allies noticed it. Japan, South Korea, everyone noticed. You can be sure Beijing noticed it too. Every rival on the planet is looking at the same numbers we just showed you. The empty shelves, the 8-year refill, the pause on Taiwan. America is still the strongest military in the world. That part is true. But the strongest military in the world just showed everyone its limits. And in a world full of enemies, the most dangerous thing you can lose is not a battle. It's the fear.
So yeah, that's pretty much the problem. Like, we can't keep doing this. And here's the thing, it's crazy how Ukraine is trying to step into this while they also need interceptor missiles as well that we do not have. So I mean, look, we're gonna have to wrap that shit up, and they're gonna have to wrap that shit up as well, like ASAP.
Influencer who
For the global economy, bro. Do it for the economy, man. Goddamn.
actually does have the ear of President Trump, flew to Ukraine, flew to Kyiv, sat down with President Zelensky and apologized to him for all the abuse she'd hurled his way, calling him a Nazi and so on, and saying America should do nothing to help Ukraine, saying the complete opposite now. And doing so, people think quite cynically, because there is a belief that, contrary to all perceived wisdom, the Ukrainians are beginning to defy expectation and begin to get the upper hand in this war with Russia, mainly through the new types of warfare, drones.
Oh, guys, if you got any questions, comments, jokes, or disagreements, or I guess anything you want me to Google, please super chat it in. Appreciate the support, or you can send it to Venmo as well. And also make sure to double tap that screen, like the video, and subscribe to the channel as well. All right, back to it. But like I said, any question, comments, jokes, or disagreements, or something you want me to look into, make sure to super chat it in. All right, back to the show.
And so on, that they've been deploying very skillfully. You've maintained from the start of this, Russia will win, that Ukraine will have to ultimately give up territory. They've refused to do that. Is your position modifying at all? Are you seeing here on the ground perhaps a possibility that Russia may not get the victory that you thought was inevitable?
No, on the contrary. I think the Russians are in the process of winning the war. First of
I mean, yeah. I'm telling you, what they're not telling you is that Russia is about to take, if not already, they're about to take Odessa. They're about to control one of the main port in Ukraine to the Black Sea. Yo, that's going to cut them off from reshipment. That's going to come off from resupplying and all that. So, yeah, Ukraine is taking more land. And here's the thing. They're taking more land than mainstream media is willing to tell you. But don't worry, you'll find this out soon enough.
all, if you look at what's happening on the battlefield, the Russians are moving forward slowly for sure, but moving forward steadily. Surely by the end of the year, they will control all of Donbass. And there's all sorts of evidence, given the huge manpower problems that the Ukrainians have. They have a significant desertion problem. They have a significant draft dodging problem. They have a much smaller population than Russia to begin with. They're suffering badly up on the...
I mean, they are pulling people off the street. Pulling people off the street. They're getting desperate, so they're inviting in radicals, aka Nazis. So yeah, it's getting pretty desperate in Ukraine, but we don't talk about it because we want to try to, and we don't talk about it here in America because we want to try to frame it as if Russia's losing the war, which they're not. They're not. We just over exaggerate every little success that Ukraine has and try to frame it as, oh no, they're breaking new ground, guys. This could really crumble Russia. Yet no.
front lines. The lines are beginning to buckle. These are the Ukrainian lines. But I think more importantly at the moment, if you look at the Russian bombing campaign against Odessa, they have basically cut off Odessa from Ukraine. Ukraine no longer has a port on the Black Sea. And this is having devastating consequences. And it certainly will have devastating consequences over the long term inside of Ukraine. Ukraine needs Odessa. It needs it to sell its wheat and to import all sorts of goods and weaponry. But that's no longer possible. So I think that the Russians are in the driver's seat here. And all this talk in the West about how the Ukrainians...
Here's a problem, though. It's like, not only is Russia winning the war, but, bro, they're willing to die about Ukraine, apparently. They're crashing out about Ukraine. I mean, and so is North Korea. So their ally, a close ally of Russia, is also putting boots on the ground in Ukraine. I mean, guys, they just want it more at a certain point. Like, guys, we're not going to put boots on the ground in Ukraine. I mean, let's just keep it real. But North Korea and Russia are doing so right now. And basically, it's a 2-on-1. Guys, we're talking about a country of, like, how much people does North Korea have? Because I know Russia got, like, what? About 50 million, about 150 million. That's how much Russia has. But North Korea, I'm going to say about, what, 40 million? Man, I'm guessing, but I actually want to make sure, though. Let's see here. Well, what is it? 26. Never mind. I was way off. But yeah, a country of 26 million. So you damn near got to combine the two. It's 150 million people and plus 126 million people or Koreans. Yeah. So 150 million Russians and 126 million Koreans are pretty much putting boots on the ground in Ukraine. Not all of them, but you guys get what I'm saying here, though. It's a 2-on-1. And what I mean by a 2-on-1 is they're putting boots on the ground, and it's only Ukraine out there putting their boots on the ground. Everybody else is just throwing money into the pot, hoping that Ukraine wins.
Turn the tide is just a propaganda campaign, much like the propaganda campaign that we hear vis-a-vis the war in Iran. You remember all the rosy stories that were told about how we were winning in the war in Ukraine and how the Ukrainians are winning the war against Russia. These are just propaganda campaigns, and they bear little reality to what's happening on the actual battlefields.
Professor Mearsheimer, always great to have you.